Hello guys, my name is Antonio Rafi Gigal, and today's video I'm gonna show you what are the 5 things that if you miss that on a specific recipe and what will happen to your product. We have the baking powder, the cream of tartar, egg, brown sugar, and also the all-purpose of flour. First is the flour. What will happen to your bread if you don't have any flour? What will happen to your meringue if you don't have any cream of tartar to mix it? This one. And what will happen to your one of the basic components in our recipe, which is the egg? And what will happen to your baking recipe if you don't have this egg ingredients? And what will happen to your cookie if you don't have any brown sugar to mix it? And this one. And lastly, the baking powder. What will happen to your bread if you don't have any baking powder? And what are the results? And
All of these questions are going to answer through the video. Number 1. Flour. What will happen to your bread if you don't have any enough flour? If the bread was not enough flour, the texture of the bread will be off and the dough will be sticky. Because flour is one of the main ingredients to our baking when it comes to bread recipe. Number 2. What will happen to your meringue if you don't have any cream of tartar? If you forgot to put some cream of tartar in your meringue recipe, the food may not be fluffy as perfect as you hope, but it will really taste good, but slightly risk your meringue will lose some height or collapse when it's baking. So you must not forget the cream of tartar when it's mixing the recipe. Number 3. Egg. What will happen to your bread if you don't have any eggs? Eggs are used in baking for a few reasons. They bind ingredients together, so if you miss to put some eggs in your recipe, your bread might not be chewy and moist. Unfortunately, eggs are not only one of a few ingredients that perform this function in a standard baking mix. What will happen in your baking recipe if you don't put some baking powder? It may not rise if you forgot to put some baking powder in your baking recipe because the purpose of the baking powder is to rise the baking product so that it will become more deliciously to look at it. Number 5. So if you forget to put some sugar in your cookies, you will be experience this. The cookies were not sweet. The cookies were fragile. Cookies were not so deliciously. The sugar is so very important to our cookies because it is one of the main ingredients because it gives the delicious flavor, which is the sweetness and the texture of the cookies. You should never ever forget the sugar in your cookies.